Hello everyone, welcome to week 3. Today I will be covering Luther Gulick, otherwise known as the Dean of Public Administration, and his theory of organization. Let's get started. We will be discussing the theory that Gulick put out as well for administration, as well as the weaknesses, the strengths, and the real-life example and how we use it till this day in public administration. What Luther Gulick's theory of organization refers to can be simplified to the division of work as the foundation of the organization and the reason to form it. It is important to remember that all divided work does have limitations, according to Gulick, not necessarily presented from the work itself, but from each individual person. Gulick believed that there was no one human being identical to the other. Therefore, there was no one person that could offer the exact same skill set, leading to better organizations and management if work was deliberated amongst everyone based on certain skill sets. As part of his theory, Gulick gave 10 principles of organization. These were division of work or specialization, basis of department organization, coordination, though hierarchy, deliberate coordination, coordination through committees, decentralization, delegation, unity of command, span of control, and also line and staff. Out of these 10 principles, Gulick emphasizes division of work. He believed larger organizations require more men to carry out certain tasks throughout the organization. Gulick was a believer that multiple men working together could achieve maximum results if a division of work was placed among those men. Based on his theory of division of work, Gulick made up an acronym, POSDCORB, which indicates the overall functions that every administrator should hit when targeting their employees. Each letter in this acronym stands for a task or a job that needs to be done by the executives or managers in certain organizations. Each letter also stands for a particular function and gives an example of what their roles are as managers. The P in the acronym stands for planning, which tells the managers that there needs to always be a plan, an outline, goals that the organization needs to meet to make sure that everybody is working towards them and accomplishing them. The O stands for organization, which means that there is actually a structure, authority through each division of work, and there is coordination so that the same goals will be achieved in an organized manner. The S stands for staffing, which represents everybody, each member of the organization. And the important part of staffing is that there needs to be a maintenance of conditions of work. Everybody is going to have different skill sets, and as managers, we need to emphasize those skill sets and give them proper training and anything that members of the organization will need to succeed at their job. The D in the acronym stands for directing, which pretty much tells the manager or the director of the company that they need to be making decisions and be specific and give orders and instructions and serve as the leader in the organization in order for the division of work to work. The C stands for coordinating, which is actually really important. It means securing the operations among teamwork and amongst different departments, making sure that everybody is on the same page, trying to achieve the same goals, knowing exactly what is going on in other departments, and nobody is caught off guard or not knowing. And that is an important part of running a company or running an organization. The R stands for reporting. Through reporting, the manager keeps everyone informed. Like, it's similar to coordinating, but when you're coordinating, you're coordinating their jobs and what they need to do. When you're reporting, you're letting them know what various activities they need to do and how they need to get organized. Last but not least in the acronym is B for budgeting. This pretty much sums up the entire field of finance and financial administration. As finances are the life of the organization, it is important to remember the functions of budgeting and the discipline when it comes to staying on track with money and how much each sector of the division of work will get in terms of budgets. That is why the B is also very important. And planning, accounting, and control all goes into the B in budgeting. Another thing that I think is very important in this theory and that I personally liked is that gulick, or the volume of work that they are willing and capable of accomplishing for an organization. It also takes into consideration the technology and of a certain place or of a certain organization. It takes into consideration different subdivisions of work. Another thing that I personally liked about the gulick's theory of organization is that it takes into consideration the number of employees or members of an organization that a manager can handle. It also talks about the stability that an organization will get by having subdivisions, the specialization of the subordinate. So it talks about how different employees can accomplish different things, but they do need to specialize in something and have a focus in something. And they can all cooperate and collaborate with each other, but once they have their focus, it will help them engage in better terms. Instead of having to learn a little bit of everything, having a focus is important. And also having space, just because you are having everybody that does this, is you are having the people that are doing the same work, working together every day, feeding off of each other's information and the amount of knowledge that they have. Some of the weaknesses that I found in the theory were those that others can probably agree with me on as I read more into the criticism of the organization's theory, and it is that it's oversimplified and it has created an oversimplification of administration, which in my terms, it means that you are putting all types of administration, government and like local government and federal government and other types of organizations in a bubble and saying that every single organization can be ran the exact same way. And that is not necessarily true. And I think it is important that we place different categories. And although it is a good foundation, we can't just generalize all organizations. It is also very vague in applying the principles to a real world setting. Although I can see it happening in certain organizations and even mine, I don't see this being applied to every single public administration because it is so contradicting to the idea that specializing in something can help a manager also worry about everything. So when a manager is worrying about following all the letters in the acronym, he's not specializing in just one thing. When looking at Gulick's theory of organization, I like to think of it as a way to apply it to my life and to my workplace. I do work for the city of Murrieta for the community service department, especially the recreation department. And I can see us following the acronym POSDCORB to the T. We are definitely planners. We have meetings constantly where we outline and bullet in our goals to reach for city events, for how many attendees we want. We also make sure that we outline the new programs and we send out catalogs to keep organized, and we just plan. We're planners. We have in the department, we have scheduled events 6, 7, maybe even a year in advance, which helps us keep very organized, and each person in the department knows what they have to do, and it just we already established this formal structure of authority, and we know who does what and when they do it and what their position is. And that actually makes staffing very simple when you get hired through the community services department or rec department. You know what center you're going to work for, either the children's center, the youth center, the senior center, the community center. You know what your duties are going to be, and that makes maintaining work conditions very favorable, just like Gulick said. And it also makes directing very simple. We know what orders to follow. We know who to receive instructions from. We know who to go to if we need further instruction and further directing. And it also makes coordinating very simple when you're just disorganized in a department. Everybody knows what duties they have to do and the various parts of the work that they have to accomplish. And our supervisors are just already coordinated because it is a system that we follow. We also report and keep responsible about having meetings and knowing how the centers are doing, if we need to restaff, if we need more staff, if staff needs to cover certain departments or certain things in the department. We also are very strict about budgeting. Each center has their own budgeter or their own finances controller, which is what we call it. Each person meets within a month. We meet with everybody that does the same job within the department, and we talk numbers. We talk how much each program is making. We talk about how much more we can offer the city based on how much money we're making or how much money we're losing by offering certain programs. So in the department, in my department, for example, we follow Luther Gulick's principles of organization, and it works for us. It is very simple for us, but I also don't see it working for every structure because I have worked previously for a public high school, and I worked as a program manager, and there was no way that we could have used Gulick's principles just because the structure didn't just come from the program, it came from the district. So when there's a higher authority and there's a larger organization, I don't think that Gulick's principles would necessarily work. So that is all I have this week. I really enjoyed putting Luther Gulick's principles of organization into practice in my own life, and I liked researching more about his thoughts of administration and applying it to what my life already is. So I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and I'll see you guys next week.